All right, so let's take a look at what we can do to make this work here. Well, first things first is we're going to go to self.background color is equal to orange custom color. So we're going to have a nice background orange color. Then we're going to add in a few items here. We're going to say player is equal to SK sprite node. Then we're going to add in a spike, make it equal to an SK sprite node as well. Then we're going to add in a ground, and you guessed it, an SK sprite node, right? We need to add in a couple labels, so we'll go to LBL main, and then var LBL. We'll go to LBL main, and we'll say LBL score. So we need to set those up as well. And these are going to keep track for score. It's going to keep track of the main everything here. Now you also want to make sure that there's an equal sign there as well. Okay, and LBL main is equal to SK label node. That's what we're looking for here. And likewise, we'll say SK label node. Okay, and then we'll add in a var called spike speed, and we'll make that equal to 0.3. We'll make it pretty fast. And we'll also say we'll make a variable called is alive and make it equal to true. This will keep track of whether the player is alive or not. We'll add in a score to keep track of score. And then we'll add in a var, we'll call this spike spawn time number, and we'll make that equal to 0.2. So this is how fast they're going to spawn here. All right, and let's go and let's add in our objects here. So we're going to say function spawn player, and within here we're going to say player is equal to sk sprite node, and we're going to give it a color. Now this color is going to be an off-white color, and the size, and we didn't really set up our CG size here, but we can set this up on the fly if we want to. Okay, so if we want to set up the player on the size here, we can set, and since we want to do that, maybe it might make sense to go var player size is equal to CG size, and we're going to say that this is, let's say, 60 by 60 by 60, and then we're going to go var spike size is equal to CG size, and it's going to be again, the width will be maybe 10 and the height will be 70, or maybe even 80. That might work, 80 or 90. And we'll go down here and we'll say this is player size. Okay, we're going to go to player dot, we need to go to player dot size is equal to player size. And that's in case we want to add in our own art, which we might want to. All right, and so we now have our player size, and we're going to go to, for example, player dot position. Okay, make that equal to a CG point, and we will say CG rect get mid x self dot frame, and then the y here will make 120. Okay, now we need to add in some physics here. In order to do that, we're going to add in a struct with the name of physics category. Okay, and we'll say static let, and then we'll say this is player, which is a uint 32, make that equal to 0. We'll also add a static let, and we'll call this spike, make it a uint 32, make it equal to 1. So what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to add in our physics category. All right, and before we move on here, XK scene, we're going to go SK physics contact delegate, and then we're going to say physics world dot contact delegate is equal to self. This will allow us to add in physics. So we got our player here. Then we're going to go to player dot physics body is equal to SK physics body, and we're going to do rectangle of size. We're going to go to player dot size, and we're going to go to player dot physics body dot affected by gravity is equal to false. And we're going to go to player.physicsBody.allows rotation is equal to false. Player.physicsBody.category bitmask is equal to physics category, right? Physics category dot player, and then player.physicsBody.contact test bitmask is physics category dot spike. Player.physicsBody.dynamic is equal to false, and then player.name is equal to player name. Then we're going to say self.addChild, and we're going to add in the player. And it wants you to fix it, so it's just asking you to unwrap that. So we now have our player here. Let's go ahead and let's spawn the spike. So we're going to say function spawn spike, and within this spawn spike here, we're going to say spike is equal to sk sprite node. We're going to add in a color, and this is going to be off black color, and the CG size is going to be spike size. All right, and then we can go to spike.size is equal to spike size, just in case you want to add in your own art, which we will later. Okay, and then spike dot position dot x is going to be equal to a CG float, and then we're going to go to arc for random uniform. Okay, and I'm going to explain what this is in a second. I'm going to make it between 500 and 300. What this is going to do is that it's going to set the position of the X somewhere along, and it's going to randomly set it. So we want the spike to spawn randomly along the X. So X is across, and we'll randomly spawn it, and we'll go to spike dot position dot y is equal to, and we could probably even say something like 1,000. That will put it above the screen. All right, let's go to spike.physicsBody is equal to sk physicsBody. Rectangle size will be spike.size. And then let's add in some extra items here. We'll say spike.physicsBody dot affected by gravity is equal to false. Spike.physicsBody.allows rotation is equal to false. And then spike.physicsBody.allows and we do have the allows rotation, so we'll say category bitmask is equal to physics category dot spike, and then spike.physicsBody.contact test bitmask is equal to physics category dot player. Spike.physicsBody.dynamic is equal to true, and we'll say var, and what we'll do is we will add in our other items later. That will move this down in its own separate function here. Next thing, we need to go to self.addChild, and we'll add in the spike. All right. So we have the spike, we have the player. What we need to do is add in a function called spawnGround. So let's do that. So the ground, this one's actually fairly simple. It's going to be ground is equal to sk sprite node, and we'll make this off black color. And the size here, the size actually is really cool. We're going to say this is CG size, and we're going to say that this is the CG rect, and we're going to say get width self.frame. And then we're going to say the height is 200. So that's cool. It will get the width. Then we're going to go to ground dot position is equal to CG point, and we're going to say double. Here is going to be CG rect get mid x self dot frame, and here we're going to say CG rect get min y self dot frame, and there we go. And then lastly, we're going to add in the ground or self dot add child, and we're going to make it the ground. Now you're probably wondering why we're not adding in physics. Well, we don't need to because the ground isn't actually acting with anything. It just looks like the ground. So let's add in another function here. We'll call this spawn LBL main, and in here we'll say LBL main is equal to sk label node. Okay, and we'll add the font name of Futura. And we're going to go to LBL main dot font color is equal to off-white color. LBL main dot font size is equal to 100. LBL main, all right, dot position is equal to CG point. And we're going to say CG rect get mid x self dot frame, and then CG rect get mid y self dot frame, and we will add in 250, so that'll put it up to the top. LBL main dot text is equal to, we'll say start, and then we're going to go to self dot add child, and we're going to go to LBL main. Wow, we're almost done here. We're going to say function spawn LBL score, and we're going to simply copy every single thing in here because it's a long tutorial, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to LBL score, and we're going to simply copy and paste all of this here, but we're going to change a few things. First of all, we're going to change the text to score backslash bracket, and we're going to say score. The font size is going to be 50, and we are going to subtract 350 from that. All right, so then we need to go up to the top here to our did move to view. We're going to go to spawn LBL main, spawn LBL score, spawn player, and then spawn the ground. We're not going to spawn the spike because we need to set up a timer for that. This concludes the tutorial.